Well, hello and welcome to this week's episode, a podcast episode at MedicareTeam.com. My name is Jeff Hustner. I'm the founder of MedicareTeam.com, joined with my son Joshua and my other son Joel on the other side of the camera. Reminds me of a TV show from long ago. But anyway, this is my brother Daryl, my other brother Daryl.
I have no idea what you're
I
talking
know you
about.
don't, but I imagine some of our viewers might because I used to watch that show quite often. But anyway, let's not digress or transgress here today. Today on this podcast, we're glad that you're joining us. We are going to talk Medicare. Surprise. Is that a shocker?
That's crazy, man.
It's
I
crazy.
thought we were going to be talking about something else in the Medicare Team podcast.
Yeah, well, we do sometimes, actually. We recorded an episode last time that literally was pretty cool. But anyway, today we're going to get into Medicare
Bro.
Advantage and Medicare Supplement, and we're just going to talk Medicare. Does that sound simple enough? This
sounds pretty
episode is
simple.
filmed in 2026, by the way. So this does change year for year. You know, one of the main benefits of working with MedicareTeam.com is as a valued client, we are with you for years to come. So every year we will work with you to make sure you're up to date on the latest changes. Every year it changes. It's federally regulated. You change too, right? Your prescriptions might change, your doctors might change, your health situation might change. So that's why it's really important to work with a valued partner like MedicareTeam.com right now and then into the future. And today we're actually kind of going to narrow it down even more and talk to our audience. And if you're watching or listening to this and you're already over 65, then this might be a recap or you've already learned this. Maybe not. You're probably going to learn a few things today, but we're going to focus on those that are just about to be 65, right, Joshua? And they're just starting to learn about Medicare. Well,
Yeah.
why? Because they've never had to learn it before because they were 60 or in their 50s, right? So one of the main misconceptions about Medicare, and we're going to talk about some mistakes people make today too, but is, hey, I don't have to do anything. I'm on an employer plan. I'll just do nothing. I'll ignore Medicare. How does that work out?
It's not really good to ignore it because there are lots of penalties you can incur if you don't do what's right, if you don't do the right thing. When you're just entering into Medicare age is the most crucial time for Medicare. It's not something that just automatically happens. So we can go from the
So
beginning.
you've got to deal with it, right? You can't
Yeah.
ignore it, right? And if you're turning 65, you're probably getting phone calls, mailers, Facebook ads, YouTube ads, people knocking on your door. Everybody has an opinion on this too, I've noticed. Like, I'll just do what cousin Eddie did. I'll just do what my neighbor told me. The reality is you're getting bombarded with Medicare Advantage versus Medicare Supplement. What do you do? How do you make sure you're covered
Yeah.
if you run into cancer, heart strokes? There's a lot we're going to get into on today's episode. And why is that? Because there's a lot to this stage in Medicare and turning 65.
And
Isn't there?
speaking what you just said, don't just do what your neighbor or what your friend or even what your spouse does because your situation is going to be different than theirs. It's always good for each person to consult individually with a consultant, with an expert in the field, because someone's situation is going to be way different than another person's situation.
Yeah, talk about that. You just brought up a good point about a spouse because a lot of the clients we work with, on average, the person who's turning 65 will be the husband or the male in the relationship in most cases. And the wife, on average, these are statistics we can pull up, is usually 2 years younger. A
Yeah.
year and a half to 2 years younger, just because maybe you're watching this because you're the first one going into Medicare. For those that are married, right, or have a partner. But if you are the second one going into this stage, you can't just do what so-and-so did, even if that's your spouse. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. And sorry, my brain went to another topic as well. If you're, let's say you're the husband, and you're going into Medicare first, you just got to be aware, if your wife's on your insurance coverage right now, Medicare is for individuals. It doesn't cover like a group. So your wife's not going to be eligible, for Medicare until the time she turns 65. So you got to think about that and getting some type of like gap insurance or something.
How does that work? If I'm on employer coverage right now,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe it makes sense for me to do a Medicare Advantage or a Medicare Supplement, even though I'm an employer, or I'm not on employer, Like, how do I deal with my spouse?
Yeah, it really depends from situation to situation. If your employer allows you to stay on their employer plan past the age of 65, sometimes people will elect to delay their part A and B
Yep.
till they get off their employer plan, just so that way the spouse has coverage until she would turn 65. Take all these factors into account, which is why I say talk to a licensed agent, call us here at the Medicare team. We'd love to help you out if you're in a situation along the lines of that, of wanting to keep your employer coverage, or if you're wanting to, or you're forced to get off because your
Yeah.
employer doesn't cover you after the age of 65 and says you got to go to Medicare, helping you out and helping your spouse out get some type of coverage until she would turn 65.
And we're going to go a little deeper into some of that later because there's a lot of questions I think that come up in our listeners' minds when they start to hear that. In fact, I started to have a lot of questions, right?
Hmm.
Uh, but today we're talking about the main topic of turning 65, and really we're talking about I think if we were to narrow it down, like the biggest mistakes people run into when they're
Yeah,
turning 65. So the first one we talked about, and we talked about several, but is just ignore it. It'll go away. Or
not gonna
just
happen.
do like so and so did, right? That doesn't work. And then people run into thinking Medicare covers everything.
Yeah, it
Let's
does.
talk about that because that's a lie. That's not
Yeah.
true. We're here to put that out there right now. Medicare does not cover everything. Whether you do Medicare Advantage, Medicare Supplement, there's still major gaps in
Hmm.
coverage. Oh, let's say I'm on an employer plan, right? If you use that scenario, there's still gaps, right?
Yeah.
Like if you wind up with cancer, heart attack, stroke, which who doesn't know somebody who's run into cancer, heart attack, or stroke?
Yeah.
Number one, or in their family, there's a history of it, or there's they know people, right? I know like your grandma, my mother-in-law, like their neighbor just passed away from cancer. And it's so sad to hear that, but it's a common thing. My aunt right now is dealing with cancer. I'm trying to think I
Yeah.
could go through my family, different people with cancer. And if you have the wrong coverage, or if you think Medicare covers everything or my employer plan covers everything, that's a mistake. So talk to us about that
Yeah.
a little bit.
I think that you guys can fact check me here, but I heard this statistic once that 85% of people who are diagnosed with cancer are over the age of 50.
Yeah,
I mean, if you think about it and the people that are in your life, that's going to be true.
right.
So it's very, very important to be able to protect yourself not only from the costs of cancer, but also just protect yourself financially because there are people that go through something like that. They're not covered and then it wipes their entire retirement out. And now it wasn't the cancer that really killed them, it was the financial instability,
Yeah,
if
and I
that
mean,
makes sense.
it does,
Yeah.
and it can happen with heart attack and stroke in the same way
Mhm.
because there's gaps in coverage. And I think one thing with Medicare covers everything that I would point out, this is kind of bad news if you don't deal with it, is if you don't have a plan in place, the only alternative if you do run into some if you don't believe this or if you believe Medicare covers everything, you have to wind up paying for this. And you're going to have to liquidate assets like your house, your 401k, cash. Like if you've worked your whole life to retire and you run into an unfortunate situation with even just this example of cancer,
Mhm.
heart attack, stroke, it can literally drain a lot of what you've worked so hard to build up. So it's
Yeah.
really important to make sure you're covered. I wanted to get into that mistake that people make because I went through it with my dad a little bit.
Yeah.
We'll get into long-term care maybe a little bit later and what he ran into. Like Medicare didn't cover after a certain time frame, right? It didn't even
Yeah.
cover the first 21
It's not
like
gonna
talk to us about that.
Yeah. It's not going to cover, besides like a skilled nursing facility, like after you would get out of the hospital for like up to 100 days, I think, so max it covers. It's not going to cover for your long-term care, assisted living. Medicare doesn't cover that.
Right.
You're going to have to pay that out of your pocket, or you're going to have to get on Medicaid if you have nothing, no assets and no income.
Which is what happened to
And
my dad.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's not a fun place to be. Like every time we go visit our grandpa,
Right.
it's not where you wanna be,
Yeah.
and
And
yeah,
we had to at the end not at the end, he's still in a facility, but any asset he had was liquidated. There wasn't a whole ton, but he had to. And then we had to go through a process of getting approved for Medicaid. And this can happen to anybody. And it's a huge mistake that was made in our family. That's why I'm pretty passionate about making sure it doesn't happen in your family as you're watching today.
It's part of responsible financial planning in
Yeah.
retirement is making sure that everything that could go wrong, you have protection set up so that it doesn't wipe you out. A situation isn't going to wipe you out. It's not going to wipe the husband out, leaving the spouse with nothing.
Right.
It's
Which could happen
yeah,
too
which happens a lot.
yeah. Or I had this set up. I wanted something for my children. I wanted to leave an inheritance. And then all of a
Mhm.
sudden, I joke with my father-in-law a lot about where's my inheritance. He goes out and buys a new motorcycle. That's kind of what you do with the in-laws. I'm like,
Mhm.
there's my inheritance. I can hear it in the background. We joke about it, but like I think that is a desire of a lot of people, especially when you're turning 64, 65. You worked your whole life, you've got a retirement plan. Maybe you have a really good employer plan, which by the way, still has huge gaps in it
Yeah.
after 65. Let's get that out there. That's why it's so critical. We created a webinar that people watch often, and I don't know if there'll be a link for or wherever you'll be. Just go to MedicareTeam.com, click on, hopefully we'll have the word webinar somewhere. You can watch that. We go into more specifics on this, but it's really critical to do that one or two. Talk with one of our team, even if you have an employer plan, even if you're already on A and B. But if you're just like getting into it and you don't even know how to get on A and B, we'll help you with that. But never assume that you're the expert. It's hard to go into this. I guess maybe let's get into another mistake I see. Here's what it is, and this might apply to some of you listening. I'll figure this out on my own.
Yeah, that's not something you wanna do because that's gonna cost a lot.
Yeah, I'm thinking I don't have the Medicare book in here that the government has. It's like 150 pages,
Yeah.
and you're supposed to go figure that out, and
Good
that's
luck.
just part of it,
Good luck. It took me 6 months of studying to figure this stuff out, so
right?
good
Even
luck.
to get, and you're still learning, right?
I'm still learning every day.
And then we already talked about the changes that happen over and
Yeah.
over and over. It's so critical to have a guide through this Medicare journey. That's why we're honored that you're listening today, and hopefully you're getting some valuable information. And we'll definitely help you out more one on one, or if you're in our office, or we have a call together, or a Google Meet, or however the
Yeah,
tech works. Now, I'm
and
not the
it's
most techie guy in the world, but I know we have a team here at Medicare Team that is here to help each of our clients navigate this because this is crazy. So those are some pretty big things right there. Any other comments on those before we move on?
it's free. The consultation costs you nothing. Why wouldn't you at least come get a consultation? It's a no-brainer, just hear what we have to say. You don't even have to do anything, but it's always worth just like a 15-minute call with us, hour max. Just going through your situation and what your options are.
Hey, if I'm 64 turning 65, you can have an hour. I've spent my whole life working
Yeah,
to not lose it because of some medical situation.
yeah,
And we always like, God forbid something happens, right? But statistically, I think it's the number two reason. It's either, well, there's only two options, but I think that women die is from cancer right now. Uh, it's such a
mm,
huge problem in our country. We're not going to get into all the reasons, whatever
yeah,
your thoughts are on that, but it's created a really pandemic. We went through COVID in the last, I don't know how many. It seems like it's not that long ago, but it was a few years ago. They called that a pandemic. This is a bigger pandemic: cancer, heart attack, stroke, and then I think the epidemic of not having financial coverage, like you just said, to protect what you've worked
yeah,
so hard to acquire.
and
And
also
and
those you love. Like I said earlier, this situation happens way too often, if you're in a marriage, one of the your spouse has high medical costs, then ends up passing away before the other one, leaving, the remaining spouse with little to no money, little to no coverage to be able to help them. If you want to love the people in your life the most, it's gonna be figuring out how to take care of them financially when you or them would pass away.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Let's get into three scenarios that exist that we run into a lot when we are encountering people 64, 65. Because there are multiple categories. There's three main ones, and I'm just going to read through them right here, and then we'll comment on them. Actually, I'll let you comment on. Let me read all three of them first, and then we'll go
mhm,
back to them. Scenario number one: you're currently receiving Social Security benefits. That's a
mhm,
certain track. scenario. So scenario number 2, you're not receiving Social Security benefits, right? And
Mhm.
number 3, you're still working and covered on an employee plan. So let's talk about you are currently receiving Social Security. Talk to us about that scenario.
Yeah, in that scenario, if you're currently receiving Social Security, your Part A and B are automatically going to activate whenever you turn 65.
But yeah, 3 months before, because there's this
Yeah,
timeline. Let's talk about that. When you're engaging with Medicare, you've got talk
3
to us about the time
yeah,
frame. Let's just say my 61st,
si
65th birthday, is October 1st. How does that work? When do I have to get going with Medicare? When do I have to do
okay.
something
Yeah,
and avoid those
yeah,
penalties,
let's
right?
say let's say it's October 2nd, because
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
if it's the 1st of the
Yes.
month, it's the month
That's
before.
why Joshua
Yeah,
helps us with a lot of compliance and contracting and details. I didn't realize it until I said it. Yes, you're correct. If it's the first, it applies differently. Let's just say
yeah,
it's the middle of the month.
yeah. With the exception of the 1st of the month, it's gonna be the 1st of the month when your Part A and B are applicable. So, with the exception of your birthday being on the 1st of the
Applicable
month,
meaning Medicare is quote unquote live for you. But when do you have to actually get signed up with Medicare?
your 65th birthday is typically, unless you're
Right.
going
But it's
on,
here's what I'm getting at. The 3 months before your birthday.
you should do it within the 3 months before,
Right.
because you're gonna want to have that coverage go in effect on your birthday
And
month.
that's for Medicare. That's for Medicare. Medicare Supplement, you can actually get that plan set up even 6 months before you turn 65, which is always
Mhm.
good to not put it off to the end. I know I do like to procrastinate at times, but with these types of decisions, it's good to plan. So, Medicare Advantage, you can enroll 3 months before your birthday, the month of your birthday, and 3 months after your
Yeah.
birthday, correct?
Yeah, and it's best to do it before your birthday just so that it gets intact right on your birthday month, like I said before. Because if you do it after your birthday or on your birthday month, it's gonna be the month following when you actually start receiving that
So
coverage.
that's scenario number 1. And then what happens with that is you have your talk to us about how Part B premium. We haven't gone into A, B, C, D in this podcast. We're not going to get too in depth in that right now. A, you want to just do like a 10-second recap or 15 of A and B real quick.
Okay, so this is the oversimplified version of it.
Yep.
A is like the room and board in a hospital. B is the services you actually get from a doctor or physician.
So inpatient and outpatient services is a higher level thing, what you just said with doctors. Yep.
It's yeah,
Yep.
kind of room and
And
board.
then how do you pay for those?
You pay for them through Medicare, so you have original
Mhm.
Medicare. If you are on original Medicare, you're gonna have to pay a set cost when you go into a hospital, which is over 1,700.
1736 to be,
Yeah.
I think, pretty precise. But what about your monthly premium for Part B? How's that
Okay,
deal
Part
with
B.
this scenario? Because we're in scenario 1, you're on Social Security. Where does that money come out of?
It comes out of your Social Security
Okay,
check
there you go.
automatically.
So automatically, scenario number 1, it comes out of your check. Let's go to scenario number 2 because time is moving. And we can get more in depth
Okay.
in our
Yeah.
webinar in this and consultation. Scenario number 2, you currently don't receive Social Security benefits and you're
Yeah.
about to turn
Yeah,
65.
you're about to turn 65, you don't receive Social Security benefits, and you're not on any type of employer plan or planning on being on any type of employer plan on your 65th birthday, you're going to have to get in contact with the Social Security department to activate your Part A and B.
And you can do that online. We have a
Yeah,
video actually on our site on how to do that. You can call into the Social Security office. You can visit,
yeah, your
or
local
you can
office.
mail in, yeah, an
Yeah.
application as well. And then how, if you're not receiving Social Security, you pay that monthly premium, that Part B again. I know we didn't go in depth in this podcast on A and B, but 202.90 a month. And when you're not on Social Security, you're billed quarterly on that. So if you get an invoice, let's just
Mhm.
say this is you, scenario 2, you enroll. You're going to get 202.90 times 3, which on my screen here, it helps me. I'm cheating on math. 608.70 quarterly you'll
You're gonna
pay.
get that bill immediately just so you can prepare financially. When you first sign up, you are gonna receive that bill in the first, like, you'll receive it as soon as you sign up for
Right.
the first 3 months.
Yep. So let's dive into scenario
Mhm.
number 3 because this might apply to a lot of people actually listening. The first 2 it definitely will, but I think scenario number 3 is maybe, well, no, they're all pretty. They have a lot of people in each of those. But scenario number 3, you're still working and you're covered on an employer plan and you're trying to figure out this transition. Talk to
Yeah.
us about that.
So what you're gonna need to do is I'll give you 3 steps. One is you're gonna need to find out who your benefits administrator is at your company, and you're gonna need to be able to get in contact with them. and you're going to ask two things, actually three things, we'll call it.
So we got 3 things we're doing. The first one has 3 things. Go for it.
Yeah, no, no, this is the three things I was trying
Oh,
to say.
gotcha. Okay, this is
You're going to need to ask if your number one, your employer plan is going to go past the age of 65, because there are some employer plans that will end once you become eligible for Medicare. So you got to make
that's
sure
true.
you want to see if you're even going to have the option to stay on your employer plan.
Yep.
Two is you want to see if you have any type of employer plan benefits or medical benefits. Some people we talk to, for instance, might get like a stipend or like an allowance
Stipend, yeah. Yep.
to be able to go get a certain type of Medicare policy. So having that knowledge is definitely going to be able to help.
Literally a stipend, right? Yes.
Oui.
Yeah, keep going.
But yeah, and also you're going to want to see if they are offering any type of, especially if you've been in a company for 20, 30 years and they have like a retirement plan. Sometimes there's specialized Medicare plans that are specifically for your company. So you're
Mhm.
going to want to find out if your company has one of those that you'd be able to join. And then the third thing is, if you do want to stay on your current employer coverage, you need to find out if it's credible for the purposes of Medicare. And there are two parts for that, for seeing if it's credible. Is it credible in medical coverage, and it's credible for the prescription coverage, because you need both to be credible in order to avoid.
What does it mean to
the
be credible?
Meaning that it's at least equal to that of what Medicare is going to give you. Is
So
I
if
guess
it's lesser coverage.
the terminology of it.
Yeah.
But your benefits administrator would be able to tell you if it is. And the reason why you want to do that is because there is what's called a late enrollment penalty. So if you don't have coverage that's at least equal to that of what Medicare has, you're gonna have to pay extra every single month for the rest of your life if you don't get that coverage in place immediately. So the most common ways people avoid this is either if they're like in the VA, so they're
Right.
a veteran, because VA coverage is considered credible. If they have an employer coverage, is considered credible, or they just get on Medicare
Hmm.
to avoid the penalty. And you got to make sure you do it for medical and also prescription, because there are separate penalties that you will get if you don't have credible coverage when you
Now,
are
can I
aging in.
delay my Part B?
You can if you have credible coverage. So whether that's
And how do I prove that? How do I know I'm credible? Like, what's the
talk
process?
to your benefits
You
administrator.
talk to them, they say you have credible coverage. Do you just go off that word and you're good, or do you need to actually review something? Or vice versa? If they
If
say you
you're-
don't,
If your benefits administrator says that's credible coverage, then it should be credible coverage. That's what you go by, is what your benefits administrator says.
what if there's not a benefits administrator?
Talk to whoever's responsible for in your company for taking care of your medical benefits.
Because that could happen, right? Like,
Yeah.
they may not have a designated benefit administrator in the business.
Call the number of the insurance company.
Yeah, I would say pick up the insurance card, call
Yeah.
the back of it, and
call the
talk to the
back of
carrier.
it, talk to the carrier, and see if that's credible. And I would also, just for your own sake and protection, record those conversations just in case someone makes a mistake.
You might want to, if you do that, this is legal counsel you're potentially giving. Not legal counsel, but if you do record a call, you have to tell people you're recording a call. So for quality insurance purposes, this call will literally be recorded. So
Yeah, no,
I'd
that's
be
not.
careful and tell people to record
That's
phone
not.
calls.
Oh
All right?
no, yeah, no. There's no legal advice here. We're not
No
lawyers.
legal advice.
We're not lawyers.
We're not lawyers. I feel like I am
Yeah.
some days, but with Medicare, it's like I feel like you have to have a law degree to figure out how Medicare works. So thanks for listening to this episode of the Medicare Team. You don't have a legal degree yet, but Joshua's worked on a legal degree essentially for Medicare. And as you continue to tune in with us week by week, we will be focused on bringing you valuable content and getting your questions answered, and then really helping you with your journey if you're watching this going from 64 to 65. And I would encourage you, schedule an appointment with one of our team, myself, Joshua, one of our team, to make sure you are covered and that your coverage is what you need, so you're not risking things that really don't need to be risked at this stage in your life. There are simple solutions that aren't a lot of investment, that give you more freedom, take away a lot of risk, and allow you to live the life that you've wanted to live and why you've planned so hard to this point. So go ahead on MedicareTeam.com. I'd encourage you to set up a time with us to chat through that. We've got some valuable information and videos and materials we can get in your hands to help, but nothing beats getting on the phone or coming into our office and just sitting down with us. And we get to hear your situation, your doctors, your meds, your future, your financial picture, right? To help you plan for your future, to make sure you're on the right pathway for your Medicare journey. So thank you so much for being here. Today, my name is Jeff, and
My name is Joshua.
there you go. We've enjoyed having you here. Have a blessed day. See you on the next episode.